If the Las Vegas Raiders can stay healthy on defense, they have the potential to build a strong unit this season. Last year, they struggled in the run game and ranked last in rushing defense, so I wouldn't be surprised if they target a running back like Ashton Genty with the 6th overall pick in the draft. This could allow head coach Pete Carroll to lean on the run game and defense, just like he prefers. A stronger run game would also make life easier for quarterback Geno Smith, giving him the support he needs to replicate his impressive 2022 performance. But, as always, it all comes down to the offensive line. They've got to protect Smith and open up running lanes for Genty. The offensive line was under heavy scrutiny last season, and for good reason. Pro Football Focus ranked them 13th in pass blocking and 20th in run blocking. With only one notable addition so far, the question remains, is this group ready for the challenges ahead, or will the Raiders need to invest heavily in the draft? Left tackle Colton Miller is still the best lineman the Raiders have, but he wasn't always at his best last year. He rushed back too soon from off-season shoulder surgery and struggled early, giving up 6 sacks in the first 4 games, including 3 in Week 2. But once he regained his form, he was dominant. Over the final 11 games, Miller allowed just 1 sack, proving he can still deliver elite production when healthy. Thankfully, there haven't been any reports of setbacks, so fans can expect him to be in top shape and ready to lead the offensive line from the start of the season. At right tackle, Thayer Munford showed promise in 2023, earning a starting role after Jermaine Eliminour left in free agency. He also stepped in admirably at left tackle when Miller was injured. However, injuries derailed his momentum heading into 2024. Munford dealt with hand issues in training camp and a knee injury early in the season, which limited his performance. Eventually, the team had to sit him down to recover. While DJ Glaze filled in adequately, Munford and Glaze are now set to compete for the starting right tackle spot. Both players bring versatility to the table, which is a huge advantage. If Munford doesn't win the right tackle job, he could shift to guard, a role he's excelled in before. At 6 feet 6 inches and 330 pounds, he has the size and skill to succeed inside. Back in 2021, he was projected as a franchise left tackle, but stayed in college to keep a promise to his grandmother. When asked to move to guard, he embraced the challenge and became an All-American there. Glaze, meanwhile, has also played some guard, as shown during the Senior Bowl. This versatility gives the Raiders flexibility to get their best 5 offensive linemen on the field, no matter how the position battles shake out. It's shaping up to be a fierce competition, and both players have the potential to make a big impact. When DJ Glaze entered the league, some scouts projected him to be a guard due to his versatility. Former GM Tom Telesco saw that potential and drafted him in the 3rd round. From the start of training camp, Glaze got reps at right tackle and ultimately earned the starting job when Thayer Munford went down with an injury. As a rookie, Glaze allowed just 3 sacks in 15 starts. Sure, he got help from tight ends and running backs chipping in, but for a rookie, he held his own. They say the biggest leap in a player's development comes between their first and second seasons, so it'll be exciting to see how much Glaze improves this year. If he takes that leap, he could secure the starting right tackle position. But if Munford wins the job, Glaze, standing at 6 feet 4 inches and 330 pounds, has the strength and size to transition into a great guard. If Glaze or Munford move inside, the player they'd likely replace is Jordan Meredith. Meredith won't give up his spot easily, though. After joining the Raiders as an undrafted free agent, he climbed his way from the practice squad to the active roster. In his first year, he played in just 1 game. By his second year, he was on the roster for all 17 games, starting once. Last year, Meredith took an even bigger step, playing in 14 games and starting 8. In those starts, he excelled. His pass blocking efficiency was 98.8, ranking 2nd in the NFL if he'd played enough snaps to qualify. He didn't allow a single sack, gave up only 1 quarterback hit, and surrendered just 9 pressures. On film, he also showed solid skills as a run blocker, which matched his grades. Despite being smaller for an NFL guard at 6 feet 2 inches and 300 pounds, Meredith surprised everyone with his ability to succeed in a power gap scheme. The big question is whether Meredith's performance last season was just a good stretch or a sign of his true potential. Can he make another big jump now that he has a full year of starting experience under his belt? There are good guards in free agency and the draft, but the Raiders might already have what they need on the roster. Then there's Alex Kappa, who has connections with Raiders staff members Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels from their time in Tampa Bay. Kappa had an underwhelming year with the Bengals last season, but during his time with the Buccaneers, he was a key part of an offensive line that protected Tom Brady. And let's face it, you don't trust just anyone to protect the GOAT, especially when he's in his 40s. That same offensive line allowed only 23 sacks in Brady's Super Bowl season, and Kappa was a dependable run blocker when healthy. However, durability is the big concern with Kappa. If he stays healthy, the Raiders would gain a steady veteran presence with Super Bowl experience, something they could really use. But if he can't stay on the field, none of that matters. Finally, the center position is locked down with Jackson Powers-Johnson. He was drafted in the second round last year, a smart move by the previous coaching staff. It's still a mystery why that staff made some of the other decisions they did, but drafting Powers-Johnson was clearly the right call. The Raiders' handling of their center situation last season was puzzling. At first, it made sense. They wanted to stick with Andre James at center because they weren't entirely sure what they had in Jackson Powers-Johnson yet. Powers played decently at guard, but it was clear he wasn't fully comfortable, often overthinking his assignments. Then James got injured, and Powers was moved back to his natural position at center. That's when everything changed. Powers became an absolute force. He didn't have to think as much. He just played, and it showed. The Raiders' run game started clicking, and Powers looked like a rising star in the making. But then came the confusing decision. When James returned from injury at the end of the season, the team put him back at center and shifted Powers back to guard. Powers was better at guard the second time around, but he wasn't nearly as dominant as he had been at center. Fast forward to this offseason, and the Raiders cut Andre James. Now there's nothing standing in Powers' way. He's the clear starter at center. Looking at the team now, it's clear that how far the Raiders go will depend on their offensive line. The defense looks solid, tight end Brock Bowers is back, and the team still has some good receiving options. With the 6th overall pick in the draft, it's hard to imagine them picking anyone but Ashton Jeanty. And of course, Geno Smith will be their quarterback. That makes the performance of the offensive line crucial. The team hasn't made many changes this offseason. They signed Alex Kappa and let James go, but that's about it. Still, having Powers at center could make a world of difference, as the line looked completely different with him in that spot last year. Colton Miller is set to hold down the left tackle position, and Kappa was brought in for a reason. The competition at right tackle will shape the rest of the offensive line, and that battle could be the key to how everything falls into place.